how do we help? So in terms of plotting out a transition journey. So we focus on growing experience. So how do we help people who do not have the experience that is required in the market? How do we help them to close that gap? So we do that by taking a data driven and then um, gap oriented approach to speak to the students, understand their journey. When we mean students here, we mean it doesn't really mean it's a secondary school student, but anyone who wishes to transition from one career into another career. We do that by matching them with mentors who are already within those spaces and work on projects with those mentors. And the aim is to help them increase their confidence to perform on the job, to get and perform on the job. So we have about 600 plus success stories, and 100 of them comes from other training organizations, meaning they've been trained before and then they didn't get what they needed. We've been speaking to a whole lot of you for the past few days, and that is what we see on a day-to-day basis. People reaching out and say, "See, I have been trained before. I do not think I have what it takes. I don't mind. Can I walk through your program again?" So we do that also having a tailor-made career plan. So this is a plan for you for the next 2 to 4 years. So I want to go to Canada. I want to practice as a project manager, but I'm planning to go to Canada next year. So I want to start my project management journey, but also I will be schooling and I want to do that. So it takes into account every aspect of your life as it also relates to what you need to learn, when you need to learn, all the things that you need to prepare. So for people who are studying in the UK, maybe they are going to be graduating at X number of X months, we sit with them, they start a particular program, and a good number of them, as at the point where they are graduating and maybe having a post-study visa or something like that, they already have a job. Why some are celebrating, oh, they just graduated, some persons are actually with an offer letter. How does that work? Is sitting down with the team and carving out a plan that says in the next 3 months, next 6 months, next 9 months, next 1 year, next 2 years, next 3 years, this is what I should be doing within the career. So there is also partnership, and key thing is that what what we won't give, we don't promise. I'm not a salesperson, so I don't know how to say what I can't give. If you don't need a pen, I can't sell you a pen. So it's not a matter of tell me this pen and me trying to tell you you need a pen when you don't need. But then for those who would want to move from where they are to where they intend to be, I think it should be a good start. So let's take a deep further dive. Now, what is project management and what is business analysis? So I created something where I have the project manager on the right hand side of my screen and then the business analyst on the second half of my screen. Now, these are one of the two most confused roles because, excuse me, because everybody saying because I have managed I've worked as an engineer and an engineering project, I have what it takes to be a project manager. No. Or I have seen project managers work, therefore I can be a project. It's just like me saying I have seen the way a nurse gives me injection. I see how they open it, I see how they put it, I see how they inject. Because of that, I can juggle things around and I think I can be a nurse. It doesn't work like that. So it's not just about things I see. There are actual things within the journey that we need to be aware of. Now, a project manager is simply somebody whose day-to-day life is managing the project, as simple as it is. How do they do that? Now, there's a coordinated planning. We sit down with the team. After the project has been initiated, we all come up with a plan. And while the team is executing that plan, my job is to monitor and control the plan. Everything goes around the plan, and the plan comes from whatever the scope of work is. So, as the team is working on a day to day basis, I am ensuring that we stay within the baseline. There's a difference between monitoring and controlling. Monitoring is I am looking to ensure that we stay within the plan. Controlling are actions I do when it looks like we are shifting away from the plan to bring us back into the plan or make a countermeasure to readjust. Now, they do this by managing risk. actions, issues, dependencies. They manage cost and budget. They look after timeline and schedule. There's a scope that we must protect. And if things go outside that, the money changes. Now, the quality of whatever is being developed should not be compromised. So the project manager also takes this into consideration. Now, there are communications and stakeholders that have to be planned properly, engaged at the right time. Those that need to be kept informed or kept satisfied or kept close. You need to be able to plan those stakeholders at the proper time. And key thing, your work as a project manager is to ensure that the work that is given to you and the team to do is delivered right at the time it ought to be delivered. Most importantly, without the quality of that delivery being compromised. There is no need spending 6 months to build a road nobody would use. So they use things like dashboards, registers, plans, tools. I think before the call started, someone asked about Confluence. Yes. So these are tools that helps in project collaboration. So they take note of planning how the, the, the the project is actually going to be strategized from communications, change, resources, all that. Now, if we look at the left hand side, we have a business analyst. Now, this person's role or work is to look at a business, study their processes, study their operations, as well as the systems which they use to do their day-to-day operation, and actually focus their lens to identify are there any areas for improvement. Meaning, for you to find out areas for improvement, you need to know what are the pain points. Now, the moment we discover that there are one or two areas for improvement, we scope that area, derive requirements from there, and then have those requirements approved and work with the technology team that would convert those requirements into a solution. And that is where and a project manager and the project team comes in. So once there's a requirement, the project manager collects that, and that forms the scope of his project. He looks at the scope, look at the team members that will be able to work to realize those stuff, that particular thing, and then we'll come up with a plan, deliver, and then through the business analyst, we have it validated and we send it back to the business. So what a business analyst focuses on are things like the scope, the requirements, the business process, the change operations, the communication, the stakeholders that need to collect these things, the quality, the acceptance procedure, as well as how this solution will be adopted to get the business value. Now, they both use things quite similar, but not exactly the same. A VA would create things like a work plan, a requirements plan, a change approach, or more like a benefit realization plan if they have to work at the adoption stage. They also use things like business requirement document, acceptance, and the rest. Now, the tools here, if you pay attention, the only two or three tools that actually find one way or the other between the PM side and the BA side are things like Confluence, Jira, Microsoft Office related stuff. It doesn't mean that they don't use more than that. Now, if a BA has to create a work plan and you stay in an organization that they say you have to use MS Project, definitely you may have to use that. It's not really you'll be using it to the capacity of a project manager. But I advise people who we mentor to pay attention to things that are even not within their scope of work, just so that they are not alien to it. Now, this brings me to the crux of today, which is to introduce some of the key persons. Now, the good thing about this person is these people is that I know them. I worked with them, I mentored them, and I'm so happy to have them here. Now, one of them is Patient. She's a digital transformation lead in the UK. The nicest thing here is that when we met initially, she was more as a midwife. Now she transitioned into project management. I think this is for about 2, 3, 4, 5 years now. I can't really remember. This is just a testament to those who said, see, I've done everything within the healthcare. How do I move? Now, this is a success story of somebody who moved from where she is to where she is now. Now, in terms of organizational portfolio, she's worked as a transformation project manager, as a project manager, as a senior project manager in diverse and different areas within the health sector. Now, she is also a PhD This is supposed to be PhD, sorry. She's also a PhD candidate. And then she also has a project, a professional diploma in project management. He is certified. He has a couple of expertise in evaluation, planning, implementation, transformation, and has spent plenty of her work life within the sector. I don't want to speak so much because definitely I would not finish. So she's somebody we are so delighted to have today come give us one aspect of what she does as a project manager or as a transformation person on a day-to-day basis. Another person is Toby. Toby transitioned from engineering to project management. I still remember how we worked together from when the whole career journey started to where it is today. Um, so she has worked as a project specialist, as a program manager, doubled as a program manager, as a product project manager, and also as a coach. Um, the beautiful part is that they all started from, hey, Darlington, this is only what I have. This is what I have done. And every organizational portfolio you see me put here were after the whole transformation journey. And Toby is um, somebody I am also very, very delighted to have met, having been a very visionary person, knowing what she wants to do and when she wants to get them done. She's certified and has several expertise and diverse industry experience as well. Somebody I don't even know how to introduce this person. So now this person has worked across different organizations in as program managers, as head of project management, as a project manager, as a senior project manager, starting from being an engineer about 9 years ago or something like that. So this is myself. I really don't know how to introduce myself, but I'm going to skip it very, very fast. So I started in engineering, have masters in engineering, and did a whole lot of self-learning and also guided path through the help of some persons, and I am where I am today by the grace of God. Now, the last person I want to mention is TD, more like my right hand person. I don't know if any day passes I don't speak with him. So he transitioned from engineering and business into project management. Now, all of these persons that we have mentioned today all started from I do not know what to do. I do not know where to go. And they are not just project managers or business analysts starting last month or last year. These are things that they have gone through the program and they are now coming back. It's something for me, I believe that the seed is complete when it comes back as a seed. So they are coming back to give back to the society to kind of tell us things about what they do and how they do it. So Chidi has cut across different organizations in project um, management, be it especially within the technical and IT space. He's certified. He has a whole lot of things. I think I don't know how to mention so much. Now, before we get into so patients, I don't know if you could hear us now. If you could please could you just unmute and speak?
I can hear you.
Or,
Can you hear me?
all right, that's perfect. All right, so you wanted to give us a little bit on stakeholder management, right? So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
all right, so I would stop sharing, and if you don't mind, please, if you could share your screen and maybe tell us one or two things about how you manage stakeholders from a practical point of view. I'm sure everybody will love to hear.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Darlington, for that beautiful introduction. I'm really, really privileged to be here today. And as Darlington alluded earlier on, my name's Patience, and I've known Darlington for just over 5 years now as a wonderful mentor when I qualified as a project manager. And yes, I'm still in the health and social care industry, and that's where my strength is. I'm using project management as an add-on. And I think for people who are probably new to project management, it's not really about picking up a new career all the time, but you can also use it as an add-on, which I've done, and it's been working for me. Right. So yes, I'm very much. I've done quite a few projects. I've got a few projects in my portfolio now, and it's really interesting to even hear that from myself because I started off very much as, oh, I don't know how this is going to go, but as time has gone on, I've very much enjoyed project management, and it's a privilege to be here. I'll keep it nice and sweet, nice and short. Um, I'm a bit under time constraints, so I do apologize if I come across as I'm rushing. If you have any questions, because unfortunately I'm not going to be able to wait right till the end, but I'm more than happy for you to pass on any questions that only I can answer to Darlington and the team, and I'm happy to get back to you another time. But if, for Darlington is more than an expert in this field to answer all the other questions that you may have with regards to communication and stakeholder engagement. I chose stakeholder communication and stakeholder engagement because it's very, very close to what I do, or what I'm used to doing as a midwife. My background is in midwifery, and I like to highlight that wherever I go because it's my brand. So, you know, communication is vital in everything that we do. And I think in project management is one of the things that we can overlook, because we feel like, oh, all I need to do is speak to people, isn't it? Or all I need to do is send them a report, isn't it? But it really is more than that. And I think for me, the most important part of it is the stakeholder engagement. So I'll just take you through 3 steps of this very, very short presentation. So there's going to be just a brief background and context to what stakeholder engagement and communication is all about, and we'll look at stakeholder planner. And then I'll give you a small case study of a very, very simple and the project is still ongoing, but it's a very quick one for me to, showcase or to demonstrate on this platform with you today, because we're here as a hands-on. This is more a practical based curriculum rather than a subject based curriculum, like we all know, because we really need you to get your teeth in to understand exactly how to go about things. And that's what project management is all about. And then the final part of my discussion will more so be how you can apply the tool that I'm about to discuss with you to, to the projects that you're looking to embark on, or even you're working on now, or how this can apply to your journey with mentor partnership. So background and context. So stakeholder communication. What is communication and stakeholder? So we all know this, and I'm not here to to go through the definitions of words, but I think it's really worth understanding that a stakeholder are basically the people that we serve. It's as simple as that. As a project manager, your stakeholders are the people or the persons that you're doing the project for. And it's really, really important to understand who your stakeholders are. Otherwise, you're kind of going to get a little bit stuck, with regards to progressing the work that you're doing. So what is communication? Communication is basically keeping people up to date, keeping people included, co-production. You cannot start a project on your own. And I'm sure Darlington will cover this at some point, cover the project cycles and the things that you do as a project manager and the tools that you need as you go through the 5 H's. But this one in particular is with regards to strategy. So that's one of the aspects in project management is strategy. Strategy is how you go about doing something. So it's the how in it. So how do you communicate with the people, or how do you inform the people that you're serving with regards to the project? How do you go about doing that? And that's what communication and stakeholder engagement is all about. So some keywords to take away there: inclusivity, co-production, information, information, information. Because if you don't do that, people will, number one, you kind of need to win them, right? And you kind of need to get them on your side, because it kind of makes life a little bit easier, especially for the field that I work in. I do a lot of healthcare projects, and my PhD is like a massive project that I'm running, and co-production is a massive part of that as well. The second block there says, how do you incorporate this in your project? So, as we would learn, and some of us are already aware of this, project management has 3 stages, which is the project delivery lifecycle. And, we've got the initiation and the planning stage. You definitely need to know how to communicate with your stakeholders at that stage. The second stage is delivery. You need to communicate with your stakeholders. And the last stage is closing. Once again, you need to communicate. So communication and stakeholder engagement is something that is weaved through the entire cycle of your project. So how do you incorporate into it, and at what stage of the project is actually the 3 stages of the project. And you need to identify, like I said before, the people that you're serving and whom the project is for. So those are your stakeholders, and you need to engage with them. So you need to physically communicate with them. And what tools do you need to manage this aspect of project management? And that's why we're looking at the stakeholder planner. So you can use a stakeholder planner to manage your communication. So we'll just go to a little case study with one project that I've been working on, and this was actually last year with an NHS client, and the project name is Out of Guidance Birth. So like I said, my background is in midwifery, and a lot of my work is in maternity services. So this is a trust that basically wanted to have a look at how they offer a particular service to a particular cohort of their service users. So the project was called Out of Guidance. The project started in June 2023 and is still ongoing. The purpose of the project is to design a robust process across the trust for arranging multidisciplinary team consultation for women and birthing people wishing to birth outside of guidance. So stakeholders, I had to identify my stakeholders when I started this project. Now, I think for me, I do have a little bit of a leverage because it's my field, and I am a subject matter expert. And so it kind of does really help me in identifying who my stakeholders are. However, as you speak to one person, you find out that they might even signpost you to another set of group of people that you've not been aware of. And that's why communication is really vital. So just to give you an example, this is just a case study. So if you look at the box below, it says stakeholders. So I identified maternity healthcare professionals across the trust, the LMNS, who are the local maternity and neonatal services, the ICB, who are the integrated care system, and maternity and neonatal voices partnership. And this is just an example of the people or the persons or the teams that I identified as my stakeholders. And then I went on to create a stakeholder register. So that is one of your outputs. You know, when you look at your how, your strategy, and your stakeholder, your communication engagement is your how. So the how you go about it is coming out with something, you know, and that your output will be a stakeholder register. So I came up with a stakeholder register, which you can see there I've just kind of labeled as project team. Communication is really important. Sometimes in health and social care, I have realized over, of a few projects that, not everybody is so familiar with the buzzwords. The buzzwords don't really matter. When you're working with people, as long as you know what you're doing and what these documents are called, they don't really need to know that this is a stakeholder register. But that's what it is. So for them, if I'm presenting to them, I need to speak to them in a language that matters. So language is also very, very important, and we will come to that very, very soon. So the project team, now, what you see here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I think about 9 people here on that list. And this is the leads to the stakeholders. So these are the touch points. These are the people that you get involved, because this project was being done for a trust which covers 2 hospitals and a small unit. And I think the population is thousands and thousands. Those are my stakeholders. However, I'm not going to be able to reach every single birthing person in the community or every single woman. So what do? I find a group who represent voices of women who come to the hospital or use the services. And that is, I've got somebody here called Janet. So you can see that Janet, her role is MNVP. So she's Maternity and Neonatal Voices Partnership Lead. If I get Janet involved, I get the voice of the people. So Janet is part of my stakeholder register. I'll give you another example. I need to include obstetricians. So I've got 3 obstetricians here on my stakeholder register at different levels. And it's really important that you try to get different levels, because you want to reach out to as many as possible, and you want to understand the project. You need to understand what you need to deliver really quickly, so you know who to get involved very early on. And then I've got midwives here as well as part of the stakeholder. And then I've got the integrated care board, and I've got the local maternity and neonatal services, and also even the voluntary and community sectors are also stakeholders. So they're also part of the stakeholder register. And actually, some of these people that you see on the stakeholder register, I also included in the project, as in I worked with them, and they also had actions that they were responding to, and was all part of co-production. Now let's get technical. So the question is, what document do you use for your stakeholder management? There are lots and lots of templates that you can use. This is just one of the templates that I've been using, that Darlington has kindly forwarded to me. And this is basically a draft from the website. So you can see here, if we look at the first role, Jessica, Jessica is a stakeholder. Then you have her title, the email address, so that's contact details. Influence. What do we mean by influence? So in every project, there are people or persons or teams that have either high, low, or medium influence. Now, you would have to do that legwork of finding out how much influence does this team or this individual have with regards to this project. So you're basically looking at what they can do to impact the project and how that project can impact them. But at this stage, we're looking at how much they can influence or how they can influence the project. So Jessica here has got medium influence. So we know that, she is somebody that we need to really very much involve in. And then you've got information type, status update. So status update is also another aspect which one of my colleagues, I believe, will be covering later on today. So Jessica will need a status update, which there's a template for as well. Decision maker. Yes, Jessica's a decision maker. And how frequent do I need to inform Jessica? Weekly. Fine. So you write it down weekly. And these are conversations that you'll be having with your project management officer as well, because they need to help you with the administrative part of things. So as a project manager, although you've got these things and you are working with a team, you need to be on top of it all to make sure that things are happening. So weekly. Some people require monthly updates. Some people require daily. It depends on how much influence they have and at what level it is that they sit with regards to being sponsors or being stakeholders. And then the type of communication. So it could just be a quick phone call every week to Jessica to say, look, here I am with this out of guidance project, and this is how we're getting on. These are the challenges that we're facing, and these are the next steps, and this is how you can help us. Because it's always about that, isn't it? How is it that the person that you're informing, what information are you giving them? So actually, what do they need to know about the project? Where are you now? What are the challenges? What's the next steps? And what do you need from them? So that you can see that there. And then leading, so you can take their commitment level. So Jessica's actually leading as part of the project team, I could imagine. So this is a document that you can use, and I'm just going to move on because I'm just a little bit anxious of time, but you can have a look. These are very much something that I'm pretty sure that you can get a hold of easily. Have a look at it. As you can see, it needs to be nice and simple. It needs to be, don't get complicated with your templates. Just straightforward. What does it mean to you? Can it be interpreted easily? If you were to leave this job today, remember that you're going to have to hand on to another project manager. Does it make sense to them? Can they just read your template and understand where you're at or how your stakeholder planner looks like? So part of what I do as part of my communication and stakeholder planning is also, because I work in health and social care, I understand how my stakeholders like to be involved and how they like to be informed. They don't do boring in maternity services. Maternity services don't do boring. Any of you that have had contact, we've all had contact with maternity services. We're all born, right? So we've all had contact in maternity services. We've got sisters and brothers. We've got children and grandchildren and whatnot. So we know that maternity services are very fast paced. People don't have time in maternity services. So a lot of times they haven't got, they cannot read that status update. So for me, if I'm writing to the clinical director, yes, that will be a really thorough report. It will be a high level report, which will be sent to them, but it would obviously be reviewed by my manager before it goes ahead. But for me, I believe that to get my service users involved and to get my professionals involved to understand the project, it was to throw an event. And it was actually a really, really good event, which happened last year, and it ran over 2 months twice, and it was very well attended. And what it does is that it raises awareness of what it is that you're doing. It gets your stakeholders together. You gather information. So as a project manager, I mean, when I trained, I also trained as a business analyst. So, you might work in a project where you don't have a BA. So you're going to have to do that legwork yourself. You have to do the requirement gathering. How do you go about this? Sometimes you need to be a little bit creative more than what it says in the books. And actually, you need to find what works best for the people that you're serving, your stakeholders. So this is just, as we're going through my case study, I thought I'll show you how I engage with my stakeholders. So having an event is an option if you've got the funding for it. So to conclude, just to go over what I said before. Communication and engagement must be incorporated into all the stages within the project management lifecycle. So we've got the start and the initiation and the starting, the delivery and the closure. So it does need to be part of all of that. So always remember that. And then we'll move down to the tools. The tools that you can use for this is Stakeholder Planner. That is to enable communication strategy. And I use MS Teams for my meetings. I keep it very simple because I know the people that I work with, they just want to jump on a call. They don't want anything to be fucking about. And actually, a lot of NHS organizations use Teams. I use Jamboards for my activities, my group activities. Once again, is very easy. I mean, to be honest with you, there was a time when I put together a beautiful activity on Jamboard, and guess what? It never got used because the people that I'm working with, they're not interested. They just wanted to just talk. Patients, can we just talk through it? And then you take notes. I said, absolutely fine. And I actually ended up recording the meeting and going back and doing my information gathering. So you really need to know the people that you're working with. And then the last part is application. So this aspect of PM is applicable to all projects in all industries. So just be aware that, wherever you are, whatever you're doing within which industry, you definitely need a communication and stakeholder engagement, and you should be using a stakeholder planner. Thank you. Any questions at all?
Yeah, you almost made me go to apply for jobs in the NHS, but I would remain humble and stay where I am. But I think so. I'm so happy to have you share with us. I think there's been a whole lot of learning in seeing how someone within the health sector could transition into project management and how you have been able to drive and share a whole lot of communication and stakeholder engagement. I think that's so beautiful to behold. So if anyone has any question, please drop on the chat. So Toby, would love to hear from you. Patience has told us how she goes about communicating and engaging, and I know one of the tools to also communicate is to share a status report. So would you love to take us through from a practical point of view how you go about communicating your project, be it on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis to the leadership team? It's women in tech today.
You take. Hello everyone. I'm super, super stoked to be here. Whoever knew time like this will come where Mr. Darlington will put me on the spot. It's an interesting journey and it's a full circle, and I love it. And I see someone here that Igechi, like we never met in person, but we met on LinkedIn. Hello.
Hello, Toby. How's it
Hi.
going?
Great, 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 great.
Nice
So
hearing
yeah,
your voice.
yeah, same here, same here. Very quickly, my part will be very short because it's very straight to the point. And the purpose of having what's it called? The status reporting is primarily so that we communicate where we are at. All lessons is communication. And sometimes I tell people that 90% of a project manager's job is communication. Like if you can communicate, you'll be good. If you can't communicate, then you're gonna like you're gonna go through a lot, right? I'll move to the next slide. The next slide is the things to consider. And I love that, patients had already dealt with the stakeholder part, which is basically, from my point of view, is who's receiving your report. A stakeholder is anyone that has a stake in the business, whether high stake or low stake, whatever stake they have, that's a stakeholder, right? So, and they're different from shareholders. Or a shareholder can be a stakeholder. So who's receiving the report? And then another thing to consider is how are they going to receive? What's the mode of communication? I once worked with a CEO who strictly liked to communicate on WhatsApp. So annoying because I believe WhatsApp is my personal space. Why would you want your report on WhatsApp? But that was just who he was. And this would be in the communication plan, in the stakeholder management plan, on how the person wants to receive their report. Typically, officially, it should be shared via email, right? So how? Is it email? Is it WhatsApp? Is it phone call? How do you want to receive this report? And then the frequency. I saw on Patience's chat, there were stakeholders that was once a week, there were stakeholders that were twice a week, twice a month, and those that are monthly. It depends on your hierarchy and your level of influence on the project. That usually determines, and of course, the stakeholder requesting for it. And then the details in the components also is largely dependent on the stakeholder. What am I putting inside this report, right? So we're going to see a very complex one, and then I'm going to go with the simple ones that I regularly use. Now, these templates, to just quickly talk about tools, these templates can be created anywhere, from Jira to Asana to Monday. I even use ClickUp these days. I've also worked with Notion, right? There are companies that actually use Notion. You'll be amazed. And some of them you can actually just screen grab your entire work task list and show them the board of this is where this is at and this is where we're supposed to be going and all that. But just to quiz you guys, what do you think should be in this status report? I need responses so I know that you guys are awake and that somebody is not turning eba or making spaghetti while we're talking. I need to be sure that you're paying attention because I'm not sure that everybody's here. Or somebody can be, it's amazing that I find out that people can be in two meetings at the same time. They'll be here, they'll be watching YouTube, and they'll be praying. Since nobody is responding to me, but progress of the report, progress. But how would it, what else? Progress of the report, of course, is the status report, is the status of the progress of the project, right? What else? What else? Milestones. Okay. It depends. Milestones. Okay. Just for time's sake. Challenges. Okay. Yes. For time's sake, this you can screen grab this. This is a very complex component or detail. We have the project name, which has to be written because a project manager can be managing more than one project at the same time. So you have to specify the project that you are giving updates on before you mix projects right up. The date of this report, who is writing the report, right? Yeah, issues identified, fantastic. I love that, right? The summary, because there are people that don't want to look at your step by step, they just want a summary. Where are we? Excuse me, where are we? What's the blocker? How do we remove it? And like, what's the way forward, right? The health of the project. And you will see in the project status, this rag. It's not a cloth. It stands for red, amber, and green. And sometimes you have gray just for things that have not started, right? And I'll show you in the next slide. So R stands for red, A stands for amber, and G stands for green. This speaks to the health of the project. So if we're in green zone, we're good. If we're in amber, we're almost good, and or not almost good. And if we're in red, we're not good at all, right? So we now start to look at the health of each part: plan, cost, benefits, quality, resources, all the components that go into project management. We start to look at the health, and then the deliverables, what we were supposed to deliver. Like someone mentioned milestones. Was there a milestone that was supposed to be delivered in that week that we're producing this report and it was not delivered? Is it going to be green or red? We have to give an update on that, right? Whatever deliverables that we have to give. And maybe in some cases you even have the details of what we are to deliver in the coming week, depending on the frequency and how the stakeholder likes to see this. And then in some cases, you might even need to reference the reports that you prepared the week before, right? So, and then we move on to how we're going to move things from maybe amber to green. We move on to the risk and issues that we currently have. We identify the risk, we describe them, target, how do we plan to deal with this risk? You mentioned the name of the sponsor, and then you talk about costs. How much have we spent so far? What is our budget? What do we forecast? Then we look at the business unit of the project. Who owns this project? Does this project belong to HR? Does it belong to IT department, or does it belong to the executive department? All these things. And then time. We have the date of launch, go live. We have the date we're supposed to close this project, what stage of the life cycle we're in, whether it's initiation planning or what have you, and then the end of that stage, right? So this is a very complex one. It doesn't mean that we put all these things in the report. It depends on the stakeholder. They might not want to see all these details. They might see the full details maybe once a month or quarterly when you have meetings. You might have to go through the presentation of this, but in a regular email, weekly or bi-weekly, it might not be necessary. It's largely dependent. So from that component that we just had, this is what will come out. This template is what will come out of it. And like I said, it's a complex one. I'm sure my fellow PMs in the house do not necessarily use this level of complex status delivery, right? But this is a very well-detailed one if you are looking for a standardized way to go about it. It has everything that we just mentioned in it. Now, to the practical part, because enough of my plenty story. Can you see my screen? Let me be sure.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
this is a diluted version, very diluted to the barest minimum. So anybody that sees this thing should be able to tell me what's going on, right? So, but I'll just go through it, and I just put in here some task or some milestone that we can maybe relate to, right? And where it is at. So it says project status report. Ideally, it should say the name of the project. So let's just call it what do we call this project now? TDX. Don't ask me, that just came to my mind. TDX project, right? And let's say TDX, it's a product that we're to launch. So that's the project in its entirety. So what's the name of the organization? DBX. Who is the product owner and the sponsor? Mr. Darlington. Who is the contact? Toby, right? Who, like, I'm the author of the status report, and I'm the person to contact to if you have questions or you need further information about this. And then the date, ideally, right? The full date, not even just the month, the full date. So I'll just put here full date. Okay. So the date we're producing this is on the 12th of October, right? Fantastic. Well, 12th of October. And here I just put the overall project status red. If we come here to the right-hand side, I don't know if you can see my cursor moving. Red signifies that the project is at risk. So basically, we have shot over time. Amber, although here is showing yellow, amber is more of an orangey color, is that we're off track. So there's a delay. The time we need to get things done. And green means we're on track. Things are going good. So this was the overall health that I was mentioning, referring to in the other place, right? So then when we go through some of the tasks of this product and this project that we're delivering, right? We say delivery of roadmap. This is supposed to be completed on the 21st of October. We're not yet in 21st of October. And we started it on the 2nd of October. So fantastic. We cannot necessarily put the complete date because we have not completed it, right? So we leave this blank. But at the moment, this is green. It's because it's on track. The date for delivery, for completion, has not yet arrived, right? And when we look at risk assessment and identifying controls and gaps, the date of completion is today. And let's just assume that this has not been turned in. And we started on the 3rd of October. We put amber until it is turned in, then we can change it to green, that it is done and it's on track, right? Or we can even have another part in this thing and say, oh, done, and give it another color, right? It depends on how you want to run your own status reports. And like, for example, here also, you can have gray for not started. So and then if we move on to agreed and signed risk plan, which is supposed to have been completed 2 days ago. It started on the 3rd of October. Red basically means it's at risk and it's not done, and the due date has passed. So let's assume that it's tomorrow that it will be completed, okay? And we just put the date of tomorrow. Now, when it comes to tomorrow, when it is actually completed, we can convert it and say green, or we can convert it and say done, right? We can just put it there that, oh, it is done. For example, let me change this one that was supposed to be. Now, done is not part of the color, so it's not going to show in the setting. So the ledger doesn't have done as a color, right? Let's say detailed communication plan probably need to have been signed off or submitted, whatever the task is due in 2 days' time. So it's roughly amber because we have about 2 days for it to complete. Scope sign off, right? We need to have the scope signed off by all the parties involved, the sponsor and the stakeholders and all that. And this is meant to be completed on the 25th. So let's say we have time. 25th is roughly 2 weeks away. So it's still green, it's on track, right? I hope this is clear. I hope it's clear. So most times you either send this Excel in an email through WhatsApp, or you screen grab it like a picture. I've had to deal with managers that just want a screen grab. You come here, you click snipping to, you copy it like this, right? and carry that picture and paste it in an email, because a lot of people are visual people. Okay. But the final step, like somebody mentioned, is the project summary. You have to be able to summarize the project. What is delayed? What is blocking? What is the risk involved? And how do we plan to solve it? Do you need the help of the stakeholder that you have sent the update to? Are you going to detail it that the person can support in helping by doing this and that? And then highlighting the actions, the next steps, and what is expected for next week, the expectations. You can detail all this in project summary. So the person at one snapshot on the summary, they can have an idea of where the project really is at, right? I hope with this simple explanation, because I know I kind of like rushed it, we have understanding. Are there any questions?
I think the questions that have been asked, I think I've answered some of them. So we should be, well, definitely. I know that the way we are, there might be one or two questions that would come up as we are going. So just to add to what Toby said, I'm not sure I would have shown one thing on the business analysis side for those who. So I will just scan it very very quickly. I have something here. So as for business analysts, we promise to actually make this very, very detailed enough maybe next time. But I just want to show for those who are a bit curious. Patience spoke about communication plan and stakeholder plan. Toby has actually told us one aspect of the communication, which is communicating the progress of where we are on the project using a status report. Now, for a business analyst, there are several things. When we speak to the stakeholders, so this is a visitor management system. So visitor management systems are actually used maybe by private estate or private residents to actually manage entry and exit as well as all the residents within that vicinity, so as to use automated processes to handle operations. So this is a user story document. So after we've collected requirements from them, you actually place them in a, like, you create a user stories, and we would actually take all of these things and export them into Jira or Azure DevOps or Asana or whichever thing we intend to use. So I'm just going to mention one use case, which is to pay by card. So there is a registered customer, which is like the resident. Now there's a system that is involved, and there's an admin. So user stories go this way. This is a user story document. So as a registered customer, I want to be able to make payment for estate levies using my debit card so that I can be clear of any estate debt. So a user story is more like I am giving a story. I'm speaking, I'm talking about my action and the expected outcome. So the acceptance criteria goes like this. Now, there are two ways of writing acceptance criteria. So you could write them in a process format, or you could write them in a statement. So a process format is like this. So given that the resident is registered and logged on into the platform, which platform? The visitor management system. So whether it's the person is on their mobile app or the person is doing it via a web. So the resident will go to the payment section, the resident will select the payment module, the resident will enter his payment details with selected payment reason. The user, which is the resident, will make the payment and confirm their PIN and password. The user will see successful payment notification. So this is writing an acceptance criteria in a process format. Now, if I don't want to write this in a process format, I would use um, that, given that the resident is already registered and have logged in on the platform, when they navigate to the payment section, having selected the product or reason or service to be paid for, when they enter their payment details. So here we're talking about name, card, etc. I can't remember all of them. The system should process the payment successfully and return back on screen notification. So this is another way of writing the same acceptance criteria. So some persons choose to write it um, in this format. Some persons choose to write it in this format. So this is what a user, which is the applicant, will do. Now an admin has an action. So the admin wants to see all the payment that has been done by card. So as an admin, I want to be able to see all resident payment done by card so that I can be able to update our financial records. So admin has an action. The user has an action. The system is supposed to allow. So I don't have much time to go into several respective use cases, but this is how to just create a very simple user story. I don't know how many BAs we have on the call. If you're a BA, maybe you can give the Lord a wiper. If you're not, if you're intending BA, you could also say praise the Lord on the I mean send a reaction also. But this is how to write. So every use case, whether I want to be able to upload documents, manage accounts, place orders, log in, log out, forgot password, live chat, view products, place order, all of these things are different actions that will be done. And you need to take note of the ones that actually pertain to user A, user B, or user C. So for anybody who intends to go through the project management route, so these are different jobs that could be applied. So I could be a project manager, a project coordinator, a PMO analyst, a digital transformation manager or lead, just like Patience, or a program manager, just like Toby or myself, or a project manager, technical project manager like Chidi, or you could have delivery lead. You could have an agile project manager, a scrum master like Igechi, just like so. These are different roles within the PM bucket. Now, for the BA bucket, you have things like the business analyst, whether it's a process side or on the technology or product side, where you could have an agile business analyst, a product owner, a product analyst, or a business change manager, or a business adoption manager. So all of them are different flavors. It's just like when you say noodles, you have Dangote noodles, you have Indomie noodles, you have Honeywell. So these are different. At the end of the day, they fall within the noodles family, right? And you have pasta, you have cement, just like that. So somebody could ask, how does this work? So currently today, like if you've joined any of the webinars in the past, we do say the transition journey starts with a general knowledge. So the general knowledge is what we all got today. We had patients. See, Patience and Toby just explained these things and they looked so easy. But to be frank, I was more like I don't want to use the word a pain to them, but I made sure that they did not sleep. And today they can sleep for 3 days, 4 days, nothing will happen. But as at the time where they were working on this stuff, they trusted in God, they trusted in the process, they trusted in the work, even when it looked like things were not happening, they did not put their foot off the gas. Today, I I and the entire team were so happy to have them back share with us. So for those who are saying, I mean healthcare, I mean engineering, I mean um, constructions, I mean oil and gas, and whatever thing you were, you could actually transition. We will try to bring as much more people who have diverse and different background, but are doing something way, way, way different from whatever it is that they were doing before. So everything starts with more like a consultation call, like coming to meet the team and saying, see, here I am. This is what I've done. I've been trained before. I haven't been trained before. I don't know anything. It's like, where do we go from here? So after that call, during that call, we would ask that, okay, you share your CV, we'll do a gap analysis and would actually tell you the result. You don't have to pay anything for that. So some persons do not have like they don't have they don't know where to go, they don't know where to start. They just want to speak. Feel free, book a call. I think the team will share a link. Just book a call, find a very good space, and let's let's chat regarding the journey. Then once you feel that okay, yes, this is good for you, then we would have to go through the second stage, which is where we would go deep down to do like a career roadmap. So this is where we look at things for the next 2 to 4 years on that particular career in the particular market and in the particular country or region that you intend to apply. Only after then would you then start building capacity, which is the focus training and mentorship, and then you would be required to solve a problem. Now we have network of mentors, and most times even the students who have once passed through this stuff, just like Toby, just like Patience, just like Igechi, Chidi, and a whole lot of them, most of them do say, okay, Darlington, we're working on a project. Do you have any students who would love to work? And there we say, yes, we do. And then these students will work with them on projects. So, for example, those who have health background and still wish to transition within the health space, there are so many patients out there. There are so many Tobys out there. There are so many Chibis out there. There are so many Joshuas and the rest. They are all out there who are in the space already and are ready to kind of carry people the same way they were carried. So you actually be building capacity and solving problems. And then after you have solved a particular problem, then we'll start the job market preparation. Now the last stage is where so we will just talk about the service offering. Now the first part is you don't have to, there is no compulsion, right? For you being already here on the call, um, if you wish to say, I don't know where to go, we need someone, we need to just speak to somebody. Please feel free. I'm sharing my full screen, so I don't know if it has been dropped on the chat, but feel free to reach out. Like, oh, I would love my CV to be reviewed, or I have an interview. I've been failing interviews, but is it possible? Can I just have one session? Like, could we have a taste? Can feel free. There is nobody cuts your neck, right? Feel free to reach out to the link that will be shared, and surely we would speak to you and we would help. So there are persons who come and say, see, after we have looked at this, I need my CV to be redrafted. I need a couple of interview preparation sessions. This one is not just enough because maybe I need to build my confidence, and if possible, my um, I would love to have a refresh. Now, there is a so that is actually done for about 3 weeks. These were whatever the cost was before, and this is what the current cost is. Now, for the full program, this includes it's a 3 month program where a career roadmap is done. There is a 4 weeks of practical training. There's a 10 weeks of mentorship where you join an organization and you are working under the supervision of a head of project management or a senior project manager on a particular project. And then after that, there is the CV and interview preparation, and as well, the company you work with, you get to have a job reference um, for that um, for that period, more than even the 3 months, if you were actually in their good book. So we've seen some of these companies even offer up to like a year, 9 months to say, okay, yes, this person was so good to us. They actually provided value. So the key thing is that all of these, you don't have to do this all at once, and it could actually be broken down. And all products are actually tailored to a certain market. Now, I know this is what I would, for somebody could say, Darrington, okay, see, I've been trained before. Like we've had a whole lot of that too. Most people, I don't know how you were trained before. So some people might say we just need only training. Some people might say, see, I've been trained before, I just need mentorship. The truth is, I'm not saying you can't just be mentored, but the truth is, I don't have the confidence to send anybody to just we're not a profit making organization, we're a career building organization. So most, if we check what we said in the very start, about 100 plus. In fact, some of the mentors that we are bringing to speak to us for the past couple of weeks, these are people who had either been trained before and had no value. And some of the training organizations, like, but then they had to come and we had to rework the whole thing. And where they are today, it's heaven is so proud of them because they are giving so much value. And I know to some extent where each, and I think the whole, I don't want to make a mistake, but every single person who had gone through this program, I know the job they are currently doing presently. So, and most of the time we still speak. And if they want to transition to another role, they could come back, hey, Darlington, like, what do you say? How do we go about it? It's, we build a family, it's not a business. So for me, I have no interest in, I don't want to put this whole thing that if we're not doing this thing we are doing today, it will not remove anything. The only thing is that it is, I'm not going to feel fulfilled if I'm not giving back to the community. So I think this brings us to the end. I think this is right at almost the end of the session. So please, if you have any comments, if you have any questions, feel free to ask or mention to anyone on the chat. I I think this is the time where we just ask if anyone wants to ask a question, like instead of typing, they feel like talking. I'm happy to I'm happy to answer.
Hello, Darlington. Good
Yes,
evening.
good
Yeah, let me.
yeah, good evening.
Yeah, my name is Kingsley, and I want to just say thank you for this high level, what I call it, a workshop or training. Yeah, so I've actually been looking at. Okay, I'm a portfolio analyst, right?
Okay,
I was actually looking at diverting into something that relates to IT, like the business analyst or the project management, something of that nature. But so with this, I have a question to say. Take for example, you're putting together a project and you put you've gotten as much information as that you feel is required for the project, and you've put all the required resources together. And during the project, you notice that, oh, there's something actually missing, and probably you have communicated all this to the stakeholders. At that point, what do you do? Do you go back to re-amend your project status to say, okay, hey, this was actually missing during the startup of the whole incident, and going back to the stakeholders on this? Then, and lastly, like I said, I'm still trying to find my footing in which to dive into, whether the project management, whether the business analyst. I'm still trying to find my footing on that end.
okay, no problem. I will give you my shoe. You will wear. If it sizes you, you will take it. If it doesn't size you, you would actually go to a shoe mender or something to fit the size. So the first question you asked was very, very important, and we call that an issue, right? So an issue is anything that occurs and it's actually affecting the project. It's something we did not envisage at the beginning, but then it just happens. Now, issues always have negative impact on the project. So, oh, we were supposed to include a dry cleaner. So, for example, let's say you are planning a project to you're managing a project to do an interior decoration um for an organization, and you, initially when we were scoping, we didn't know that the window blinds needs to be rewashed. So the client was not making do away with that. They want to still use that. So you did not plan to have a dry cleaner when you were creating your plan, but then when you went on site, you discovered that. So it's not a blame game to say, oh, we didn't do a good survey at the requirement gathering process. We would identify that as an issue. And then I used to have an issue register. I don't know if it is time to just, okay, 1 second. Okay. I So maybe later you identify that as an issue, you put that in the issue register and you put a resolution plan and then you put an owner. So if the owner is the project manager and wants the resolution plan, submit a hiring request to HR to hire a freelance um, dry cleaner that is going to work for 2 days. And this is the contract. Excuse me, this is the money this person will be paid. Now, you once that has been approved, or while that is being approved, you make a change to your plan. Initially, there was no dry cleaning there. That is also a change in scope. So we manage that change process by checking the impact first of all. What's the impact of this? If it's approved, a budget is released, we would make adjustments to our plan and then hire that person. The person comes, do the work. So, as a project manager, we would always face issues. Just like Jesus said, in this world, we would face persecution or tribulations or whatever. You cannot escape yourself from it. The only thing is that a good project manager tries to uh, foresee some of these issues and call them risk. Now, a trying project manager, I wouldn't use the word a bad project manager, but a trying project manager would only manage these things as they come. And the better they are, the quicker they can resolve these things. So you put that in an issue register, you check the impact of that particular issue or what aspect of the project it affects, whether it's resources, whether it's scope, whether it's cost, whether it's timeline. You make all of those necessary adjustments and you continue the project. Ray, your hands are up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daviti,
Yeah.
for the presentation. So my question is, because when you were talking about the payments and all that, the network kind of logged me out. I didn't get that part. So I don't know if you could just talk more about the payments.
So, okay, do you mean the payment side?
No, you were. I think it was on the screen, but at that point, the network kind of logged me out. So I didn't get that part.
Okay, okay. Are you talking about
Yeah,
this part?
yeah.
Oh,
So I just
all
want to
right.
know. Okay.
Okay, so that's the so the full. So if we see, I had to reduce this because some persons might say, okay, we want training only. We don't care about the mentorship. Maybe I am already working somewhere as a project manager and I just need only training. Some persons will say, oh, I don't need the training. I've been trained somewhere else. I need just the mentorship. But the truth is this: if somebody wants to go for any of these things alone, it's much more expensive. But the truth is, if you actually say, I would love to go through the full career transitioning program, I think that has been most effective. We don't, I have a rule. I don't, or we have a rule. We don't bring people who are already project managers that did not go through a mentorship program to come and speak to people who are trying to transition. Now, it's not that I cannot go and look for a senior project manager somewhere, but if there are students who were one-time students and they went through this stuff and they are transformation leads for NHS, program manager for this organization, senior project manager for this organization, it's easy for them to tell upcoming students the pains and how to navigate. I think for me that is one thing that we have always stood by. So this is the cost for the very full program, but we just say it's much better that someone just focus on having the full thing because most people they would come and say, I need mentorship only, I need training only, I need just a refresh. And the simple truth is when they come in and see how beautiful the program is going, they say, okay, can I go in for the full program? And sometimes it's very, very difficult. So I hope I'm able to answer your question. I feel that there are much more questions. Yes, Chiwike, how are you? Good to hear.
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you, and gratitude to you and your team for your job well done. I'm trying to sign up for the intro call, and it says which course are you interested in? So, what like the courses itself? Is it the ones that's on your screen right now that it's trying to make
yeah,
reference to?
yeah. So the thing is, it could be a project management course, it could be a business analyst course, it could be a Scrum Master course. So which aspect are you? So the reason why all of these roles here are all byproduct of project management. All of these roles here are all byproduct of business analysis. Just like we also have all of the role like we have umbrellas of things. So if you're trying to sign up, which course are you interested in? So it could be a project management, it could be a business analyst, because the focus of today's webinar just focuses on just those two.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So when hopefully we get to see one day in I've never been to Northern Ireland before, but anything that carries my leg to that place, we would we would definitely catch up. It's nice to have
Come
you.
prepared, come prepared. It's always cold here.
If it's cold, then I will run away. Chuka, I believe the question you asked at the very beginning is answered, right?
Yes, it's answered. Thank you. I
Oh,
now have a more clearer vision of what direction I want to go in now. I think
all
I'll
right,
start with the project management because I can literally just add that on to the field I'm already working in.
all right, all right.
Yeah,
That's great to hear. Okay,
great
so
presentation. Thank you.
no worries. My hope is that in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, everybody here at one time would come back to haven't started working in the organizations will come back to speak to people in 3 years time to say this is what I do. This is one big project I'm managing. This is maybe you want to come back and tell us how you manage risk or how you manage. So it's I don't want to say it's a prophecy, but the hope
Amen.
is to see everybody come back to say, see, I don't mind. I want to tell somebody how they too can can start. We've had people from different diverse. I've had somebody from oil and gas go into IT project management. We've had people from midwifery or social health and social care worker. So there've been a whole lot of Johnny. Hi, Francis. Sorry to keep your hands up. Please, could you ask your question?
Yes, please. I just dropped a message on the chat. If you can look at it, please.
Okay. Can I have a link to your website or contact person? Okay, definitely you can. So is it you want to speak to somebody in the team, right?
Yes, but obviously not in this meeting, right?
Yeah, sure. So if you actually so I just sent back. So that's the website. And then if you want to book if to book a like to speak to somebody in the team, so this is the link. I think I just shared you the two most important parts.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. So thank you everyone. So sorry for keeping us this long. It's Saturday. Sometimes we need to go catch up with family. I sincerely appreciate and I hope that from Toby's presentation and from Patient's presentation and from the little thing I had to show with regards to user stories, we would be able to see that communication, documentation, stakeholder engagement are part of the most important things to ensure that the project is successful. So catch us next time. Between now and when next we catch up, I pray that you'll be in good health. If there's anybody that is sick amongst us, I pray that by the blood of Jesus and by his stripes, we would be healed. If there's anybody that is kind of confused in their mind, I pray that by the help of the Holy Spirit, we'll get the wisdom on what direction we need to go. And if there's anybody who is feeling down, who is feeling like number of years wasted, don't feel bad. Please try to book a call. Maybe we could speak one on one. We've ministered to a whole lot of persons who see there are people who every day people tell them that see you're not good enough. Like you can never make it. I do share this story of myself that I grew up being small. Tomorrow is my birthday and I'm still looking a bit small. And I don't know whether I'll be bigger than this physically, but God made me like this. And I had prayed and fasted to be taller to the day it did walk those days. Until I came to realize that the glory of God is hidden in the way He made me. So for some persons, you might feel there's a disability in your mind, in your body. God made you that way. So that when you want to speak, you would not speak that, oh, it's because I am fine, or it's because I did this, or it's because I did. It will be that hitherto the Lord has helped me. My strength came from God. I I got a job from Nigeria that actually took me to the UK. Like I know a whole lot of persons are within the UK, it's like, oh, I need a sponsored job. But then for me, 2022, a company came in and looking for people, and it's more like why everybody keeps asking, why must it be you? Why did they come to the whole of Nigeria to carry you? Is it like senior program manager that finishes the whole of UK? But the truth is, I had already started building and planning myself by the wisdom of God and by God's grace. So if despite all of these factors, God was able to help me. I don't think I will not have what it takes to guide people to say, this is what it is, this is how it is, and this is how it should be. So I pray that for those who would discover and say, this is wherever they want to do, or this is wherever they want to be, I am more than able, and I mean, I am more than happy to help, and God is more than able to support us. So till then, remain blessed.